Do you know how to spot a fake ghost video? Find out in this episode of Josh's Cemetery Chats. Welcome back to the least professional channel on YouTube, and welcome to Josh's Cemetery Chats. How's everybody doing today? So today, I'm going to show you 5 ways that ghost videos trick you into believing that they're real. So why am I making this video? I'm making this video because there's too many videos out there and too many channels that purport to be showing true ghost videos, and people aren't thinking logically and don't understand how these videos are faked. So they're believing that they're real because they don't understand the ways that people fake them. Alright, so for this video, I'm going to be showing you clips from things that I shot and have edited together, and I'm going to explain to you why they trick people and how I went about editing them. So the first clip that I'm going to show is a very common type of clip amongst a lot of different channels, where essentially somebody says that they are all by themselves, or says that, you know, maybe they have a couple of people that they say there's only 2 people with me, there's only the 3 of us at this location. And then what they'll do is they'll be walking through the location and they'll pan the camera around, and you'll see somebody peeking out from behind a wall, or behind, you know, they'll be standing above a low wall, or they'll be peeking out through a doorway, that kind of thing, and then they'll disappear behind there. And sometimes if the people don't run away, they'll actually take the camera and they'll go towards the location where the ghost was supposedly at, and when they get there, they find them gone. So the easiest way to do this, and the way that most of them do this, is they'll have somebody there that you don't know about. They'll tell you that that person isn't there, but there will be somebody else there. And then what they'll do is they'll have that person hide behind a spot, like a doorway or behind a wall, and in this case, in my video, behind a headstone. Alright, so I came out here to check out the cemetery. It's supposedly haunted, but I wanted to come out and see for myself and see if I could... Wait a minute. What's that? Hold on a minute. What the heck is over here? Wait a minute. There was somebody back here. I swear to God, there was somebody back here. There she is. And what they do is they walk up, as they keep the camera very intentionally pointed in a specific direction to allow the person to duck out of wherever they are. Now that might be the person ducks down below them and they have the camera up high. That might be that the person ducks around another corner or through a doorway down a hallway. Or it might be, like I did in this case, that the person runs out from behind something and stays behind the person filming. So in this case, I actually had my daughter help me out, and she hid behind the headstone, and as I walked up to it, I intentionally kept the camera faced to the one side of the headstone, so that when I turned around, when I got around the headstone, there was nothing there. And then as I turn around the cemetery, you don't see anybody else around, and you're trying to figure out what's going on here. And then I reveal that she was there the whole time. So anytime that you see a video like this, where somebody purports, hey, I was the only one here, and I saw this thing, I don't know what it was a person that they had with them that they were using to film this video and fake a video. Okay, this next one is a little bit easier to show. So essentially, a situation where somebody has if they're all by themselves, let's say they really are alone and you're trying to film something by yourself, and you're standing there and you've got the camera set up on a tripod and you're talking, and then all of a sudden in the video you'll see somebody sweep behind in the background. For instance, in this clip, there's a dark figure that swoops behind me as I'm talking and goes behind the tree, and then when I grab the camera and I run behind the tree, there's nothing there. Alright, so supposedly the cemetery is haunted. I haven't seen anything out here though. Wait. Oh crap. Where did it go? Now the way that this is done, the easiest way if you're all by yourself, is using a mask. So essentially in editing software, one of the cool things that you can use is something called a mask. And that's where basically you take one video or image and you layer it on top of another one, and then you only show part of that video or image in amongst it. So you have the background video, and then you have the foreground video, and the foreground video you only show a piece of the foreground video. The easiest way to do this is with straight lines. So in this example, I had a tree with a straight line all the way down it, so I could mask out just a portion there. The smaller the mask that you make, especially if you're shooting indoors and you can control the lighting, it's a lot easier to work with masks because you can keep the scene lit very similar or pretty much the same way. I shoot a lot of outdoor stuff, so in this case it's a little bit more difficult, and you have to make sure that you keep everything right, and you have to have, you know, a day like today where it's perfectly blue sky, there's no clouds out, the sun's starting to go down, so it's changing the light just a little bit, but if you do it quick enough, you don't have to worry too much about the sun changing the light too drastically. So it all depends on the time of day if you're not filming indoors in the studio. Now the third one here, this one was a little bit trickier. I don't know how well it came out. I have to still edit it, so I'm not 100% sure how this is going to come out. But essentially what I've done with this one, I took a clean plate, which is essentially 10 or 15 seconds of just playing video just of a scene. And then I took another video that had me kind of walking in front of the headstone. And then what I did was I masked the headstone itself so that it looked like I was standing behind it. And then I phased that mask out as I started walking to make it look like I was walking through the headstone. And this can be done with any number of things. You can do this with walls. If you have a camera pointed directly at a wall and it looks like something is coming out of the wall, it can be done the exact same way. It's a lot easier if you can get a good perspective, to where you have the perspective set up so that you know that the object, you can't tell where the object is in relation to the person, because that's the other way that you can do this, is by having the person walk past the object, but in the video, because of the perspective, it looks like they're walking through the object. Okay, the fourth point, this is another one that can involve masking, or it can involve somebody being off camera when they do it. So I'm sure you've seen the videos. Supposedly somebody thinks their house is haunted. They set up a security camera or surveillance of some kind, and they just leave it on an empty room. And after a while in the video, you'll see things that'll be flying across the room. You'll see things falling off of cabinets or off of countertops. You'll see cabinet doors opening and closing. The easiest way to do this one is with masking. And I'll put a video in here that kind of demonstrates that in my kitchen, just because it's a lot easier to show when you're indoors and you can kind of control the lighting a little bit better. But essentially you can make it look like cabinet doors are opening and closing, things are going off of the cabinets and the shelves and that kind of stuff. So essentially if you use a mask, you have to try to use straight lines, and the person in the video would actually be, you would get the clean plate, and then once you had the person in the video that was actually moving the cabinet doors, or maybe pulling a string to pull something off of a cabinet or a countertop, and then you mask them out using the clean plate. The other way is if you have a big enough area, you can have somebody hiding off camera where you can't see them, and they're pulling on a string to pull an object over. So when you're watching a video like this, keep in mind what is the field of view of the camera. So how much can you see of the entire area? Is it possible that somebody's off screen? And if you can see a pretty good view and you're pretty confident that, okay, nobody's off screen here, it's not a wide enough view that maybe there's not enough places they could be hiding potentially in a room, like the camera's maybe up in the corner of a room or something. In that case, they've used a mask to make it look like something is haunted. So the fifth point, this one's kind of a rather fun one for me. So you'll see videos out there that purport to be older videos. And somebody will say, hey, I've found this footage, or this footage has been online for years, it's been making the rounds, it was filmed in the 70s or the 80s, and it shows a ghost, and how can they didn't have the technology back then to edit videos, so how could they possibly show this kind of stuff? A couple of different points here. The first point being, older cameras and technology are still around. You can still buy them. Some people have them that they've had for years, but you can still get older cameras. There's ways to fake older videos in the present day by getting they're for rent. You can buy them. Film students use them all the time when they're filming those kind of things to kind of show off an older style look. If they're going for something, they're making a film and it's a period piece and it's set in the 70s or the 80s, and they want to have that look and the feel of the decade. They can rent or buy older equipment, and it makes it look like it was filmed at a completely different time. The other way is through current technology. We can actually take videos that were filmed on modern cameras and apply different things to them, filters to them in post-processing to make it look like it was an older video. On top of that, when people do that kind of thing, a lot of times you'll see in descriptions of videos, or you'll have discussions being had between people, and it's always the same thing. All of this was definitely older footage, it's been around for years, independent experts have verified it, but they never name the independent experts. They don't actually have any kind of proof of when the thing was filmed. Sometimes, on rare occasions, it is older footage. Maybe it was something that somebody shot 15 years ago, before YouTube was even around, 15 or 16 years ago. And maybe they uploaded it to some obscure site at the time, somebody found it and downloaded it, and then after years, it got re-uploaded somewhere else, and it just keeps kind of making the rounds as people find it, and they don't know the origin of it. And some people are doing it just for fun because they want to get clicks. Some people are doing it because they find the video, they think it's interesting, they're convinced that it's something older and that it's something real, and so what they'll wind up doing is re-uploading it and sharing it, believing that it's real, and then other people just kind of get on and it spirals out of control. So that's how older videos can be made in fake. There's a bunch of different ways, so you got to be very, very, very careful when you see a video that says that it was filmed in the 70s or the 80s, you know, before modern editing would allow you to make those kind of things. And even in the 70s and 80s, there was editing techniques and shooting techniques that people could use that would allow them to fake ghost videos. And it wasn't that they were trying to fake ghost videos to upload them for fame. You know, you could find a legitimate older something that was actually filmed in the 70s or 80s, and maybe somebody was filming it for fun, or they were filming it to show off to their friends, or they were, you know, there's a bunch of different reasons that somebody might have filmed something back then using some of these editing techniques that would allow them to make things, to make it look like a ghost video. It doesn't have to be somebody was just trying to trick people. It could legitimately be they were just having fun with it, just to see if they could do it. Made a really good video. It got forgotten about for years. Somehow got uploaded by somebody at some point. Maybe they uploaded it themselves thinking, you know, hey, I'm going to share this and see what people think about it. So there's a bunch of different reasons for that, a bunch of different ways with older videos. And as a bonus thing, pictures aren't immune from this either. You'll see a lot of pictures out there. If it's not a video, it's a picture that somebody's saying, hey, I caught a ghost in this picture. Some of the most famous ghost pictures that have been going around the internet for a long time were actually shown, you know, have been proven to be fakes. They've been debunked in one way or another. Either the person that made it has come out and said that they made it. They've been debunked along the way. But even the ones that haven't been debunked are pretty easy to fake. Now, of course, there's Photoshop. There's ways to edit pictures after the fact. But there's also ways to shoot pictures in a way that they'll actually show up as if something is really there. So I've got some examples of long exposure photography that I'll put in here. In one shot, I actually freeze in place and stand there as if I'm in motion in the middle of moving, and you see a blur behind me. And that's actually, I had my daughter stand behind me and move around and move to the side, so that during the exposure, she would actually be picked up as a blur going across the screen. I'm not moving at all though, but I look like I am in the picture. It's hard to tell because it's a still image that I'm not moving. So it's something that would be easy for anybody to duplicate or try, you know, to make their own. There's also ways to fake things like the spirit orbs that you see in pictures, as I demonstrated in one picture where I'm standing there and there's just this ball of light. And you know, if you didn't know any better, you'd say, oh my God, that was an orb. Now, it could have been a lens flare or something like that from maybe a light that you just can't see off screen. But in this instance, I actually took a little battery powered tea candle and had my wife toss it into the picture while I was standing there. And so it's moving during the exposure, which makes it look like it's actually a ball of light moving across, or an orb moving across the screen. Now this can work with even things that aren't lighted objects. When you take something like a cloth or a fake beard and toss it into the picture while the long exposure is going on, and with enough light bouncing off of that as it's moving through, it can give some really weird effects. So my goal long term with this channel is to try and help everyone who watches my videos gain a better understanding of science and show the ways that we as humans are tricked into believing things that are not true, so that we can be better at spotting fakes and maybe develop better ways to research things like ghosts to determine if there is such a thing or if there's a better explanation for the things that we see and hear. If I can help even one person learn something new, that will be a success in my eyes. So I want to thank you all for watching this one. If you learned anything new or found this one interesting or informative, drop a like on this video. If it's your first time on the channel, go check out some of my other content. And if you like a couple of my videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well. Alright, so I'll link a playlist of cemetery chats here to give you something to binge on. And I'll link a solo video up here in case you'd rather go down a more random path. So check those videos out. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.